Hello, my name is Mike, and in this video I will be helping teachers familiarize themselves with the teacher tools here at the Propaganda Game website. Let me start off by saying that the teacher tools are extremely easy to use, and once you have received submitted examples from your students for an assignment and chosen which examples you wish to include in a match, the entire process will become second nature. Learning how to use these tools will only require about 45 minutes of your time. This video will introduce you to the assignment list and how to create assignment codes to give to your students. They will enter an assignment code during the creation of their examples, as discussed briefly in the introduction video, which will appear in your assignment list. Playing the propaganda game in class with students begins by assigning your students the task of finding or creating propaganda examples and their corresponding techniques online, on TV, or in their everyday life. We recommend allowing your students to even invent examples, as this process can foster imagination. Many of the examples in our database are based on hypothetical situations. The goal should always be to exemplify the technique, as the examples themselves are meant to be supportive and lead toward the exposure of the technique. We have learned that this process of creating examples is much more organic, experiential, and intimate than simply memorizing the technique definitions. Let's get started understanding the different areas in the teacher tools. First, make sure to click Teachers in the menu at the top of the home page to the left of the word Techniques. On your page, you will not see the word Manage, such as it appears in this video. Because I am both teacher and administrator, I have two options. But we both will still click the word Teachers. This will take us to the Teacher Tools area. Below the words Teacher Tools, we will find the words No Assignment Found, followed by a text box that reads Enter Classroom Number. Below this text is a button that reads New Assignment Code. To the right of the New Assignment Code button, we find some text describing these two areas. We are going to begin by creating an assignment. Once an assignment has been created, it will appear where the words No Assignment Found is seen at present. This assignment will appear in the form of a code. Let's go ahead and type a classroom number into the text box area. This number can be any number from 1 to 1,000. Let's type the number 1 into this text box. Now let's click on the New Assignment Code button. We could also simply press Enter on our keyboards. Once we have clicked the New Assignment Code button, we will see that there is a new table to the left with headings that say Assignments and Examples. Underneath, we find a series of letters and numbers under the word Assignments. We also see a 0 under the word Examples. On my screen, the code reads T75C1A, followed by 2 more letters. This code will be what you give your students when they enter the submissions area to begin creating their examples. Once your students have begun to submit examples for the assignment code that you will give them, the 0 underneath the word examples will begin to increase. You will need to refresh your browser to see new submissions. The code that we have just generated simply reads T for teacher, 75 for your member number that is uniquely yours. I am teacher 75 and you may be teacher 104. The next letter is a C for classroom, and the following number will be the number we typed into the text box to create a new assignment code, which in this case is 1. The following 3 letters are random and are meant to prevent anyone from creating duplicate assignment codes. The only purpose in this code is to differentiate it from other assignments that you may create, either for the same class or for other classes. The code that we have created on this page is now clickable. When we click on our code, we will be taken to a page that will show us all the examples that have been created from students that we assign this code to. Let's click on our first assignment code. We should now be at the Student Examples page, where we should see the words "No examples submitted for assignment T75C1A-OW," or whichever two letters appear in your code. This is of course because no students have submitted an example for this assignment yet. Below this, we should see a button that reads "Remove Assignment." We should only click on this button if we want to remove this particular assignment. There is no prompt asking if you are sure, so be careful not to click this button unless you are certain. Below the Remove Assignment button is a button labeled Teacher Tools that will return us to the main Teacher Tools page. Let's click on that and return. Before explaining the remaining two buttons on this page, let's add an example to our assignment as if we were a student, so that we can see that an example has been added to our newly created assignment. You will be able to submit examples yourself as a teacher the same way students do, because when we changed your status on the site from member to teacher, you also became a student. So teachers are also students, but of course students are not teachers and do not have access to the teacher tools. Before leaving this page, I'm going to select the assignment code by left-click dragging and then copy the code into the clipboard. Or we could simply write the code down on paper or type it into Notepad. Now that I have copied the code, we will want to exit the Teacher Tools area by clicking the word Home at the top left of this page. There will also be a small purple icon next to it. Once at the home page, we will want to click the word Submissions to enter the Submissions area. In the Submissions area, we find various steps and fields that need to be filled out before submitting an example. I will not go into detail in this video on submitting new examples because this is covered in the video found at the top of this page labeled Tutorial on YouTube. We highly recommend watching this video for teachers so that you will be able to help your students learn to submit examples. There are only 7 steps and the process is very simple. Step 2 is the only step that requires a bit of an explanation, but all the steps are covered in the YouTube video. Because we are only wanting a test example to show that it will be added to our newly created assignment, there is no need to fill out all areas for this video. We will only be filling out the required fields. With step 1 already filled out, let's scroll down to step 2. Here we need to choose a section, a technique, and enter some text in the Your Example area. We will choose self-deception and then choose prejudice. In the Your Example field, let's simply type "This is a test." These are the only fields that are necessary to fill out to submit an example. Now let's scroll down to the bottom and look at step 7. Here we will find a text box that reads "Enter Code." Go ahead and type the code in or paste it in by right-clicking if you copied the code. All letters are capitalized. After we have entered the code, we can click the Upload My Submissions button below where we entered the code. This will take us to the example we just created, giving us the details and allowing us to edit it or show all of our created examples. Instead of spending time here, let's click the Home button at the top of the page and work our way back to the Teacher Tools page. Again, let's click Teachers to the right of the word Techniques at the top of the home page. Now that we are back at the Teachers Tools page, we can see that there is now an example that has been added to our assignment, T75C1A-OW, or whichever code appears on your screen. Let's click on this code so that we can see our example that we just added. Now, instead of seeing a message that says "No examples submitted for assignment T75C1A-OW," we now see some text with a table underneath. The text reads "Assignment Code," followed by our newly created assignment code. Underneath, we can read the following: Click on any example number to view that example. Up to 20 examples allowed in one match. Underneath this text, we find white table headers that read example number. This is the identification number for the test example we just created. To the right, we find student, which of course is the student member name who submitted the example. In this case, it reads our own name because we were the student that submitted it. To the right of student is the section of the example and then the technique chosen for the example. If any images were added to the example during submission, a small thumbnail will appear here. The next two table headers, add to match and already added to, I will go over in a moment. Let's say that you have 10 students in your class and they have submitted 2 examples apiece for this assignment. In this area, the student example area, you will find all 20 examples listed in this table. At present, of course, there is only 1. If there were 20 examples here, you would see the first 10 listed with the option to see 11 through 20, 21 through 29, etc. This page only shows 10 examples at a time. This is to avoid having to scroll through 50 to 100 examples if your students have submitted that many for an assignment. The main purpose of the student example page is so that you, the teacher, can view your students' examples. To view any particular example, simply click on the example number to the left of the student's name. This will generate a pop-up with the student's example for you to view to determine if you wish to include the student's example for a match that you will play in class. This pop-up will also show any images or video clips included in the example. If we scroll down in this pop-up, we will see at the very bottom a button labeled Approve. This button should be explained at this time. When we here at the Propaganda Game site receive examples submitted from non-student players that have found our site on the internet and are playing the single-player game as regular members, we review anything sent to us before approving it for the database. This would be where we filter content we find inappropriate. In most cases, submitted examples are welcome additions to our database, but we must approve them first. In the pop-up in this video, we can see the same Approve button that we as administrators use. We are comfortable letting teachers decide to approve examples as well. Obviously, all submitted examples will not be 18 or over that your students submit, but there may be some mistakes your students make in their text that you would suggest to them to edit before you approve. When you feel the example is typo-free and appropriate, you can approve each example. Note that you will not be able to use an example submitted to an assignment for a match until it has been approved. Also note that if a student edits their submission after approval, the student submitted example will return to an unapproved state. Let's also take a moment to understand the criteria for approval that we as administrators use to determine approved examples. In the submission process, we have both the Your Example text field and the Your Explanation field. Many types of propaganda are inherently objectionable: racism, prejudice, stereotyping, etc. While the content of an example might be abhorrent, it is important that the author's explanation focus on the techniques being used and in no way condoning or enabling the objectionable material exemplified. Registering disapproval is okay, but not encouraging negative practices and views. When the explanation field is used to push an agenda rather than to explain why the author of the example felt the technique he or she chose was the most obvious, we will not approve the example for inclusion in the database. Let's continue. After approving your student's example, the pop-up window will show the student's example again without the Approve button. You can close this window to get back to the student example page. Before explaining matches, let's return to the submissions area and create another student-submitted example so that we can have more than just one. Click Home, at the top left of this page, and then click Submissions at the top middle of the home page to return to the Submissions area. As before, I'm not going to spend much time on the submissions page for a second test example, and as before, highly recommend that both you and your student watch the tutorial on YouTube that explains each of the 7 steps in detail. Let's scroll down to step 2 and choose a section and a technique. I will choose Maneuver and Diversion for this second submitted example. In the Your Example text box, we can type anything we want because this submission is for demonstration purposes only. I will type, "This is my second student submitted example," in the Your Example text box. For this second example, I'm going to scroll down to step 4 and import an image. You can do the same thing as well, choosing any image from your computer. I will choose an image of a hamster holding a sign. The only reason why I'm choosing an image for this test is so that I can show that this example will contain a thumbnail in the student examples for this assignment. You can also drag an image from your desktop onto step 4's image input area. Now that we have an image, I will scroll down to step 7 again. Once again, I'm going to type in the code for our assignment that we used in our first created example. Remember that we can copy the code as well from the assignments in the Teachers Tools page and paste it here, but students will be typing the code that their teachers give them, not having access to the teacher tools. Once we are ready, we can click Upload My Submissions. Students are then sent to the example view page where they have options of editing their example or seeing their list of examples. But as before, we will click Home to navigate back to the teacher tools. Click Home at this time. Now click Teachers to return to the teacher tools. We can now see that our assignment, in my case it is T75C1A followed by 2 more letters, has 2 examples. Let's click on assignment T75C1AOW, or whichever code for your assignment is shown, to return to the student example page. Now we can see that we have 2 examples for our assignment, the second of which has an image that is shown as a thumbnail under Images. Next, let's click on the example number of the new example that we created as a student. As we can see, our text and image can be seen in the pop-up window for this example. Once again, let's scroll down to the bottom and click the Approve button. Once approved, we can close this pop-up window. Below our 2 examples, we can see several buttons. One of these buttons under Match List is a Teacher Tools button that will return us to the main Teacher Tools page, where we can see our list of assignments again. Let's click Teacher Tools now. Now let's add a new assignment. Enter a classroom number in the Enter Classroom Number text field and click New Assignment Code. I am going to once again use 1 for Classroom 1. So this will be the second assignment for the same classroom. We should see 2 assignments listed, one with the 2 examples and one with 0 examples. This page will display 5 assignments at a time and give you the option to see assignments 6 through 10 or 11 through 15 as pages 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., or however many pages of assignments you have. Thank you for watching the assignment video. You are now ready to proceed to the Creating Matches video, where we will show you how to add the examples submitted by your students into a match to be played in class. We will also show how to search our database to include examples found given certain criteria to add to your matches. Thanks for watching.